This is how I've homeschooled multiple grades at once throughout the years without losing my mind. And the systems I've put in place that keep us going strong throughout our 12th year of homeschooling. If you are teaching several different ages and you feel like you're playing academic whack-a-mole, I want to encourage you. You can do this, and you can homeschool without getting burnt out. Also, you can absolutely homeschool for the long haul. Now, you can adjust the system I'm about to share, whether you have elementary school kids with preschool age kids, or you have upper elementary school age children with middle schoolers. And no matter how many children you have, this framework works the same. To make homeschooling multiple grades manageable, I used a two-part strategy up through the years that my oldest was in 8th grade and my youngest was in 5th grade. The first part was to combine as many subjects together as possible. Since my kids are roughly 3 years apart in age, I was able to teach them Bible, history, science, and do read-alouds and also memory work and character studies together at the same time, so that I was not teaching those subjects different times throughout the day. The second part is separate the skill-based subjects. So for subjects like math and language arts, those were done individually at my children's different levels. And they were also done in short scheduled blocks so that I wasn't bouncing around nonstop between them. Teaching subjects together is a huge time saver and also a sanity saver. Here's how I taught different subjects together and what that looked like. So our morning group learning block was when we would do things like read-alouds, Bible, memory work, geography, and also some character studies and reading poetry. My kids were together whether they were coloring or doodling or playing with Legos or blocks. Now for science and history, we focused on a main topic, either ancient Egypt or the solar system, for example. And then I assigned age-appropriate assignments. So for my younger child, that was coloring pages, narration, hands-on projects. And for my older child, that looked like note-taking, lap booking, simple written summaries, or research. So that meant only one lesson, 2 different levels. So you can combine your kids up through 8th grade on certain subjects. By the time your oldest child is in high school, they really should have their own science and history levels. And by that time, the beauty of this whole system is that they are able to do most of the work fairly independently by that age. Now, for the subjects that don't combine well, like math and language arts, I rotated through each child using short teaching blocks. So while I was working with one, the other one was doing independent work, things that they could do completely on their own, like handwriting or silent reading or a review activity. So here's a quick rundown of a typical day for us in our homeschool using this 2-part strategy. I organized our homeschool day into 3 main blocks instead of trying to micromanage everything hour by hour. The flow was flexible, but it was also structured. So at the start of our day, we had a group learning block, and that's when my kids were together during subjects that don't require age separation. So those were things like Bible, poetry, read-alouds, and memory work. And then we would do history and science as a family subject. So I only taught one lesson, and each child engaged at their own level. Next, we had a math rotation and a language arts independent block about mid-morning. And that's where I moved between kids for one-on-one subjects while the other one worked independently. So child A was with me for a math lesson, while child B was doing things like handwriting or spelling. And then I rotated. Child B would do a math lesson with me, and then child A would silently read or do a grammar lesson. Next, we had a language arts and math independent block. That was also about mid-morning. So I would dictate a passage from one of the books they had read, and they would write down what I said. So they would do that with me, and they would also, I would also work with them on some pre-writing for a writing assignment that was coming up, and help them with any of those fine details that they needed help with for writing. Then child B was doing math problems on their own. And then I would rotate. Child B would do the dictation passage with me, and also get the one-on-one writing help, while child A did math problems on their own. With these blocks, I was not trying to teach my children at the exact same time. Only one child needed me for any one specific subject, and the other one stayed occupied doing the work that they could do. So I was not constantly going back and forth, spinning around like a top between them. After lunch, this was our finish up block, the last block of the day. That's when I checked on grammar, on writing, math problems, reading assignments, and answered any lingering questions that my kids had. We also wrapped up anything that was not finished before, like work from earlier rotations. Now here are a few things I implemented that kept everyone moving without constant chaos. Both of my children had folders and binders. So they always knew what was theirs and what they were supposed to be working on next. And in their folders, they had independent work lists. So that was perfect for when I was teaching someone else. They knew what they needed to do without having to come to me and ask. I also had a ask 3 before me rule, and that's where they were allowed to ask 3 different people or go to 3 different sources to find help or the answer for something that they needed help with, but I was working with the other child at the time. So they would ask 3 people. If their dad was around, they would ask him. They could call their grandma. They could go to another book we had around the house. When they got older, they were allowed to go online and look up the answer. They had certain parameters that they had to follow in order to do that. But that just kept them learning how to be independent, how to find the answers on their own. So that really helped with learning, their whole learning process. And it also allowed me to not be interrupted if I was working with another child at the time. We also had timers for a while that helped keep transitions smooth without me having to nag, okay, it's time to do this next. And I also tried to choose curriculum that scaled. So I chose resources that I could either stretch up or down so that I could teach both children at the same time, and they could each have their own level of that subject. So now that they're both teenagers, both of my kids can do their work almost completely independently with minimal help and guidance from me. So they do all of their subjects separately. But at this point, they're 14 and 17, so they can do probably 90% of the work themselves. So I'm not having to follow the exact schedule or strategy that I did before when they were younger, and I rotated between them when they had their separate subjects. If you would like to see our homeschool routine and schedule with teens, check out this video next. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more homeschooling tips and ideas. I'll see you in the next one.